All right. Here to call the order the August meeting of the MMPO, and we have a quorum, so we'll get the meeting started. We'll start out with the public comment period. Do we have anybody from the public who wishes to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. Next, the minutes were sent out ahead of time. Thank you, Jackie, and hopefully you had a chance to review them. Is there any motion on the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and second to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, minutes approved. Next, we have the committee reports. We'll start out with the Citizens Advisory Committee, and also, most of you definitely know Andrew, but Andrew, before we do that, I want to first thank the county, and I want to thank Andrew for stepping up and serving as interim director during this transition period. I also want to thank Jing and Jackie, who have stepped forward, and things have been running very smoothly. And so I appreciate the efforts of all of you, and it's very important because, as you know, we're fast coming on to some really good projects here in the community, and so I appreciate all your work. So with that, Andrew's going to give us the Citizens Advisory Report.
We met, unfortunately, we didn't have quorum for the initiatives that they would normally recommend. They had no issues, but they couldn't vote. But the bigger issue is the difficulty of getting the quorum has to do with some scheduling conflicts with the new school year in particular. So they are looking at rescheduling, and hopefully they'll get a better attendance accordingly. But they've been very supportive of all the initiatives, the ones that were in attendance, which you'll be hearing tonight. That's all I have for them.
Great. All right. Since we don't have a formal report, we won't need any action on that. Next up is finance, and Mayor Patty could not be here this evening, so I'm going to give it my best shot. I don't know if I can keep up with her standards, but please bear with me. First of all, we've had several months to report because we haven't had a meeting for some time. But the beginning balance in May was $35,561.95, and the ending balance in May was $9,139.37. Therefore, the beginning balance in June was the $9,139.37, and we had 4 deposits with 21 disbursements, and our ending balance being $26,779.83. The beginning, let me go back to June. That was a reimbursement situation that we did get in, so we're very, very happy about that. So the beginning balance in July was $26,779.83. We only had 1 deposit, but 19 disbursements. So our ending balance in July is $14,267.38. We are expecting a couple more reimbursements to come in. And at that particular time, we'll address our line of credit. We borrowed from the line of credit just for cash flow purposes, so we're very confident that we'll be able to get that cut back up and remove that monthly expense from the coffers. And we appreciate Brian. We appreciate the state's efforts to get our reimbursements in, so we can continue to operate and move forward with the organization. So any questions on the finance?
The line of credit payment, is that interest only?
Yes. Yeah, if you recall, it's been about 6 months ago, I think, or I guess it's been a little longer than that, that we utilized that, just timing of reimbursements and the filings and whatnot. And again, appreciate staff and Andrew, because, we've been staying on top of it, getting those reports in and making sure they're correct, and being able to get in the queue, as we say.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. That's what it was designed for.
Yes.
Years ago when we set it up, so it's good.
Yep, it's a good tool. All right, so have a motion to accept finance?
I would move.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Finance report accepted. Next, we have the executive director report, and I think Andrew and I are going to tag team that a little bit. I think what I said earlier about staff, I think is vitally important, and I'm going to let Andrew talk a little bit about our incoming executive directors. Been a little more engaged, and we've been sharing documents with him and other things. So, in his preparation to join us full time, no later than November 2nd. Andrew?
Just want to echo what Russ said. We have been in pretty decent consistency dialogue-wise. He's been weighing in. He's got a great sense of, hey, how can I help? Here's some 2 cents, but I'm not there, and he's been quite helpful in underscoring a couple things to make sure we include, and we've been doing that, and we've been sensitive to his getting his MTP out before he closes his work up there and can come down here. So that's really all I have to say. He's been quite engaging and fun to work with already, even though it's been at a distance.
Excellent. All right. That is our executive director report. Next on the agenda is our 2026 August is the TIP amendments and administrative adjustments. And Jackie, I believe you're going to handle that.
Okay.
Yes, so the Mountain Line Transit has requested that the MPO amend the TIP to include several projects. This has been included in your agenda package. This is a yearly thing that we get from Mountain Lion. It's just adjusting it for the upcoming years to make sure the projects they need get funded. These include costs necessary to operate, maintain, and manage a public transportation system, bus service schedule, mobility management, preventative management, roof replacement, and for purchase of revenue producing. I don't know if there's anything Maria wanted to add, but this is a pretty usual thing that
The
we
two
get every
specific
year.
things that are being updated are you had them numbered, but there's a line item that is an addition of $152,000 grant. That's for rolling stock. That's the 5339, 447,362. So that's just a consolidation of 3 different grants that we have for rolling stock. And then we have on our agenda to purchase or replace the minivans that we have. So the state had some lapsing funds that they passed through to us. So that bottom line used to be $500,000, now it's $443,000. So those are the 2 changes.
Okay.
And those are administrative by nature. We don't need any action.
I think it's an amendment, so we will need an action on these. We got the TTAC, recommend approval to the board, so.
Okay. Any other questions related to the amendments? Since they're all Mountain Line driven, we have a source here to talk to about it.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Jackie. All right, next on the agenda, we have Complete Streets Greenbelt Final Study, and Colin Frosch from Kimberly Horn is here to give us the final report. Colin?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. As Russ said, my name is Colin Frosch with Kimberly Horn. We're one of the on-call consultants working for the MMMPO over the last 3 years for multiple different studies. This is the most recent one that we've been working on. Did you share the screen already?
Yes, it should be shared.
And move this out of the way.
I think so, you just drag it to the side.
All right. I think we're good. Okay, so I'm going to give you an executive level summary of the study and the recommendations. I know many of you were involved in the study or were able to join us at the public engagement event earlier this summer in June. So the study is based off of the planned Greenbelt. If you're not familiar with that, it is a proposal that came from the Mon Valley Green Space Coalition to connect the two main rail trail facilities that we have within the city, the Caperton Trail and the Deckers Creek Trail, by creating a loop generally throughout Morgantown that you can see outlined here with the dashed orange and then some auxiliary facilities in the dashed yellow. So the purpose of this study was not to further the plans for the Greenbelt, but to look at the West Run and the Van Voorhis Road corridors and see how we could supplement that plan with complete streets funding that was allocated by the DOH and FHWA to pursue safe streets for all. You can see we're looking at enhancing pedestrian safety, improving the multimodal connectivity to the future planned Greenbelt, and then finally designing infrastructure that will make it safer, not just for pedestrians, but for all street users. So as I mentioned, our study limits are adjacent to the planned Greenbelt shown in green. Our study limits are in yellow, mostly along West Run, but then there is some overlap on Van Voorhis where West Virginia Division of Highways is currently constructing the realignment of Van Voorhis and the sidewalk down to the bridge crossing of West Run. So we're going to go through a summary of our existing conditions analysis. This is how we kicked off the study. We want to get a better understanding of what's the context, what are the constraints that we're looking at along this corridor. So first, of transportation, obviously we have our two main street corridors, Van Voorhis Road and West Run Road. We also have multiple Mountain Line bus stops within the area, as well as multiple more student catered housing options or community housing options that have shuttle buses that run throughout the area. So those are all designated here on the map. One thing that is also very unique to Morgantown is the amount of existing and planned trails that you all have in the city. And so that is exemplified here in the brown dashed lines for planned and the solid lines for existing. So you have the Van Voorhis Woods down the bottom left part of your screen, and then the Baker's Ridge Trail system towards your top right. So these are all opportunities that by increasing the amount of connectivity along this corridor, you can leverage your existing resources along the trails and the transit facilities to provide that increased connectivity a lot of users are looking for. In terms of land use, this is a very residential area. We have a lot of multifamily, some single family, and then a couple pockets of commercial or office a little bit further away from the corridor. As I showed on the other screen, we also have a good bit of open space at Baker's Ridge and the Van Voorhis Woods. We then looked at the crash history to get a better understanding of the safety characteristics along the corridor. You can see each point here along the roadway exemplifies a single crash over the 5 years preceding the study. Fortunately, there was only one fatal crash that occurred at the intersection of Van Voorhis Road and Ackerman Drive. The rest of them were predominantly property damage only, meaning that there was smaller insurance claims, damage to the vehicles, no injuries to human life. In terms of the types of crashes, most of these crashes were single vehicle crashes or rear end. So typically rear end crashes will associate with congestion or distracted driving, and then single vehicle crashes are often run off the road crashes. So if you've ever driven West Run Road, you know it's a very tight and winding road with telephone poles, electric poles, mailboxes sticking out. So plenty of reasons that there could lead to run off the road or single vehicle crashes. There's also a fair number of right angle crashes, and we typically see those at intersections where there's conflicting movements. In terms of traffic, the counts that we took in early March showed that we have about 5,000 vehicles per day operating on Van Voorhis Road, and a little bit more, about 8,000, close to 9,000 vehicles on West Run Road. One of the interesting characteristics about the traffic on both of these roads is only about 6 to 7% of the vehicles are considered trucks or heavy vehicles. And the good thing about that number is a very, very small percentage, like 0.1% of all of the traffic on both these roads are articulated trucks or tractor trailers with a trailer. So most of the trucks, if almost all, are single unit trucks, large buses, which are also considered in this heavy vehicle percentages, school buses, delivery trucks, things of that nature, not interstate level tractor trailers going up and down this corridor. A unique finding that we found along this corridor, as you know, the speed limit's 25 on both roads right now because the Van Voris is in a construction zone. So although it's posted at 30, it's reduced to 25 during construction. You can see some pretty notable statistics here. The average speed of drivers along the corridor is between 33 and 35, depending where along the corridor you measure. And more than 90%, almost 95% of vehicles were measured as going above the speed limit of 25 miles per hour. So
Even though there's construction?
yes, we measured right at the end of the construction zone going downhill. And this was looking at both West Run and Van Voris.
Right.
The traffic statistics were pretty similar on both corridors, even with West Run being much flatter as compared to Van Voris, going down. And this was in both directions as well, uphill and downhill. We also looked at the operations at the intersections. So intersections provide us the most constraints in terms of our delay that's generated in a traffic network. As you can see in the two columns that say 2026, this is our measurement of the delay or the level of service that we are measuring at each of these 4 key intersections along the corridor. Those are all green, meaning we have acceptable levels of service, A, B, C, or D. Now, if we look ahead to the right in the columns that say 2050 in the morning peak and 2050 in the afternoon peak, you can see now we're starting to have anticipated failing levels of service. So the reason for this is that the facilities right now are not planned to be expanded or adjusted, and in their current condition with the forecasted traffic growth based off of the MMMPO's travel demand model, we would see traffic increase to a point at which we would start to see unacceptable levels of service at 2 intersections. In the PM, that would be West Run Road and Van Voris Road, and West Run Road and Riddle Street. And in the AM, a little bit worse, level of service F at Van Voris Road and West Run Road. So based on all this information, we condensed that down to 5 bullet points, summarizing what needs need to be addressed. So first of all, there's substantial pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure connections that are missing along this corridor. If you've been along West Run, you know that there are multiple needs or demands for pedestrian and bicyclist infrastructure with the sheer number of housing that is present along the corridor. But as of today, there's no facilities along that corridor. There's plenty of transit and school bus stops along the corridor, but unfortunately, there's a safety concern for those pickups and drop-offs with the lack of sidewalks or the lack of pull-off areas for those buses to use. With the planned greenbelt, we want to be able to provide safer connections for those users, not only to walk along the corridor, but then also to be able to cross and connect to their intended destination, whether that be a destination along the corridor or the greenbelt as a active transportation facility or as a recreational destination. To pair with this, we want to implement traffic calming and safety improvements, and then improved lighting along the corridor would enhance all of these safety benefits. Now, we went through a robust alternative screening analysis with the stakeholders that were partnering with the MPO, and through that, we came up with a proposed concept that was presented to the public at a public meeting on June 3rd, and we got a lot of positive feedback. So we're going to go through that proposed concept with you now and some of the high-level results that came from the public engagement. So this is the typical section that we're proposing along West Run Road. As you can see, it is a modification of what's out there today. This is what we call the Goldilocks approach to the typical section. Not too hot or not too cold, it's right in the middle. So we're not being too aggressive and we're not increasing the cost unnecessarily or impacting right-of-way. We're also not going too small and reducing the amount of benefit that we would provide for especially the more vulnerable users, pedestrians and bicyclists. So this is comprised of a 8-foot wide multi-use path, which would be available for bicyclists and pedestrians to use. That meets the recommended width requirements so that there could be two-way traffic for both types of users. A grass buffer between them and a curb and gutter that is running alongside the roadway, and then two 10-foot lanes, or a 10-foot lane and an 11-foot lane if there is a ditch, 10 foot if there's a curb and gutter. So you might be asking, why are we using a narrower lane? The narrower lane promotes slower traffic. The wider the lane, the more comfortable drivers feel to be able to go higher speeds. So this was intentionally designed to help promote slower speeds while also providing that buffer to improve the comfort level of those non-vehicular users that are using the facility. Here's an overview of the corridor and some of the key things we're proposing. Two main ones that you'll point out are the roundabouts, both at the Van Voris and West Run intersection, and then West Run and Riddle Avenue. You can also see multiple green dots highlighting potential connections to the planned green belt, a shared use path shown in purple running along the full length of West Run Road, and then in some select areas, you'll see a blue line that indicates a sidewalk that would be on the opposite side of the shared use path. That would be providing access to those housing units that are on the opposite side of the multi-use path. So the sidewalk is not proposed to extend along the entire length of the corridor, just in those small sections where it's needed to get them to a suitable crossing point. At each of these pedestrian crossings, we want to propose improved crosswalk facilities. So we're proposing at each of the crosswalks that are not at an intersection to have a raised crosswalk. You may have seen some constructed here in Morgantown recently on Oakland Street or near the community center up on Wiles Hill. On the right, we also are proposing rectangular rapid flashing beacons at these uncontrolled pedestrian crossings. This helps bring the notice to drivers that a pedestrian is wanting to cross, just makes them more conspicuous to improve their safety. In terms of traffic calming, we have three main components that we're proposing. The first is called a PMSD, or a pole-mounted speed display. These would be installed at the entrances to the corridor to help inform drivers of their speed before they're entering the corridor. We also had proposed a chicane, so you can see that on the right. This is basically a shift in the roadway. Think of it as a horizontal speed bump, right? A vertical speed bump is a deflection that causes you to slow down so that you don't have that discomfort of driving over the speed bump fast. And this is the same type of idea, but at the same grade. So you're shifting the traffic to the right and then back to the left. We're proposing this along West Run, just in one location where there's a relatively straight section of road and a high density of driveways and pedestrian activity. And then the last one would be transverse pavement markings. Could be considered on the approach to the roundabout as you're heading downhill on West Run to get closer to Van Voris Road. Again, it's providing that stimulus to drivers indicating that they need to slow down. In terms of safety improvements, some other things that haven't been mentioned yet is the installation of guardrail at places where the roadway and sidewalk have a drop-off or a steep change in topography, some crossing ahead signs, road narrow signs, and generally improved lighting, signing, and pavement marking along the entire corridor. So here's a quick zoomed-in rendering of the proposed roundabout. This is the one at Van Voris and West Run. You can see it would maintain access in all directions for traffic. This is referred to as a mini roundabout to help us avoid impacts to the stream and some of the adjacent properties. So what that means is there would be no landscaping in that central island part of the roundabout, and larger vehicles, though they are fewer and on this corridor, would be able to traverse that central island to make sure that they can still make that left turn. You see then there would be suitable high visibility pavement markings for the pedestrians to cross at each leg of the intersection to connect to their destination, either between the shared use path or the sidewalk. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's forecasted to be unacceptable levels of service or delay at these two intersections. As you can see with the implementation of the roundabout, we would improve the level of service from failing at both of those intersections to highly acceptable. We're dropping the delay from 57 seconds or 47 seconds on each of the respective roadways down to 16 seconds in the worst case scenario for each approach. So it's a benefit for safety to pedestrians, benefit for traffic calming, Inherently, like I said earlier with chicanes, roundabouts provide that horizontal deflection, so that encourages slower traffic. It is also improving the traffic operations as well. So less queuing, less delay for drivers progressing through the area. Here's two brief renderings of what this would look like. On the left, you can see this is on West Run heading east, just after you turn off of Van Voorst Road. I believe that's the Ridge apartment complex on the left. Actually, no, sorry, that's the Lofts. And then on the right, this is a little bit further to the east in that straightaway section where I was mentioning we would have the proposed chicanes. Here you can see the shared use path on the west side against, or sorry, the left side against the retaining wall, and then the concrete sidewalk on the right side, again, to allow that connectivity between all the housing units. Here's an example, too, on the left of the utility level street lighting to provide lighting along the entire corridor. And on the right, you would have more pedestrian level lighting to really give you that, that sense of comfort and safety as you're walking along the corridor, even at night.
There is no lighting right now on West Run, right?
Correct.
So you would be putting in both lights, you're saying?
Correct, yeah. As I mentioned earlier, we had a great positive response from the public. You can see here 66, 2/3 of the public that was in attendance or took the survey online strongly supported the recommendations. It was a very small percentage that were neutral or did not support. How important are improved walking and biking facilities? You can see almost everyone said these facilities were very important or important to them. And last but not least, certainly a plan only is so good unless you have an implementation. So we wanted to provide you a good cost estimate for your planning purposes. We forecasted out the construction costs, including preliminary engineering and those design costs out to 2030. We estimated the entire corridor would cost around $21 million. Again, this was based off of a feasibility level design, so this cost would need to be refined as the designs go into more detail. The top recommendation that we have is to incorporate these recommendations into the upcoming West Virginia Division of Highways corridor study and design study that's being undertaken. If those can be wrapped into that study and constructed, that would be very efficient and would be a good use of everyone's investment in time and money. If that's not feasible, there are some short-term improvements that we identified, such as lighting, signing, and pavement marking improvements that could be implemented at a much shorter time frame and at a much lower cost. And then when the full project comes on, those would just be replaced. The third option would be to phase those improvements. Now, because these are corridor-wide improvements, that would be a little bit more challenging to do, though it is still feasible. And that does then decrease the amount of efficiency that you'd have in terms of a cost and, you know, impacts to right-of-way, impacts to utilities, going out there multiple times instead of completing it all at once. I think that is all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
When it said 21 million in 2030, was that like based on inflation, or is that 21 million today and then with inflation?
We added a percentage to estimate inflation. I think we used 3.5 or 4.5%.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
The center of the roundabout, I'm assuming it'd be like a cone, so they could drive, trailers could drive up on it without.
Yes, yeah, so it would be what we call a traversable median. So instead of having a right angle curb, it would have an angled curb. So just like you can see in other roundabouts today, the one difference is there wouldn't be landscaping. So they would, a larger vehicle would be able to make a left turn right across the island.
Because you never know when some sort of construction delivery needs a bigger truck for
Yep.
a particular situation.
So the intent is that those would not be precluded. They would just need to go over the median. The way we designed it, a school bus and a fire truck the size of a City of Morgantown fire truck would be able to traverse the intersection within the lane and would not have to use the island. Yes, sir.
So moving forward, something I'm looking at here, and it's a problem we have now. Can we take grass out of all these plans? Wheezy, Michael and Company cut grass everywhere. I see this grass along here, who's gonna maintain
Yeah,
it?
no,
Nobody will and no one wants to. And we don't have enough man hours, and it's not gonna get easier in the future. So if this body would say, no more grass on
There are other
anything,
alternatives.
because we cannot maintain it, and it becomes a mess, it's an eyesore, it's dangerous. We need as a body to think about the future, and we don't need that grass.
Sure, there are certainly alternatives. Other municipalities or localities, if they have that similar issue, can pave over it. And so you can, instead of having an 8-foot wide trail and a 4-foot buffer, you can pave the full thing 12 feet. Now, I would still recommend having that buffer, so it ends up just being more cost up front, because now instead of having 4 feet of grass, you have 4 feet of concrete. You can also use low-maintenance landscaping, so whether it's shrubs or ornamental grasses or things that don't need the high level of maintenance that a traditional grass would. So to answer your question, yes, there are options if that is the way that DOH, the city, MPO decided to go.
Because I would just hope moving forward, since this is a problem in all of our towns and cities and the county, no one maintains it. And we all can't volunteer all of our hours of our lives to go out there and cut grass and take our personal mowers and weed eaters. So we need to think about that for 2030 and beyond.
You'd have to cost it out, I would think, too, because if you concrete it, pave it, whatever, in
That would
10
be
years,
more.
or you're gonna have to come back to deal with that. So anyway, that's,
So, to keep it within costs, there are low-height grass mixes, and it's kind of silly that we haven't, put them in our medians now. And keep Wheezy, who's a city-elected person, not a highway maintenance person, but she does the work of about 4 people with a bad back. So, it's an excellent point, could not be a better point. But it makes so much pavement that has, it's impervious, and we should look at what all the different alternatives are, keeping in mind that grass, traditional grass should be our absolutely last option. But something plantable that could allow water to get through into the water table, that would be better if we could figure that out.
Like all the.
And that'll be tackled at more the detailed design phase.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, this is a feasibility level study, so the main recommendations that we're suggesting would move forward to the design study that DOH is kickstarting, we've heard soon, is the typical section, the intersection treatments, the crossing facilities, some of the, fine-tuning adjustments of specifications for materials and widths and things like that can be tweaked, but the intent is to show we would like to have roundabouts, we'd like to have narrower facilities, here's the extent of where we want the pedestrian connections, these are the types of safe pedestrian crossings that we would like to implement. Those are the key.
And really, the buffers are more about safety for the walking, biking folks than it is the vehicles.
Correct.
And what might be a good conversation to have is with DOH surrounding the idea of what kind of new things are they looking at from an engineering perspective to create buffers like that are lower maintenance.
Do we still have all the old bricks from High Street? Because they could repurpose them, which would create traction for the cars going off the road anyways, and add a buffer, and we would be saving money because we'd be using what we already have.
Well, we do have Brian on the call here, and it'd be interesting, Brian, at some point, if you could maybe give us a little update on kind of what are some of the things DOH is looking at and considering, because I'm sure that is an issue not only in Morgantown, but in many communities, given the maintenance costs associated with those things. So you might not have the answers today, but it would be interesting to hear kind of what some of the new things you all are looking at and considering in your planning processes.
So is the sidewalks that are being created right now on Van Boris, are they in the plan?
Yes, so our
Or they're
plan,
outside the scope, or?
the extents of the sidewalk construction that DOH is working on right now are within the limits of our study. We were not recommending to adjust those. We were going to tie in the proposed sidewalk from West Run around the intersection into the sidewalk where it's ending, near the West Run Bridge that was just constructed. The only improvement that we had suggested on top of that is right now, if you are walking from Chestnut Ridge Road up Van Voris and around the bend, you're on the left side of the road. Once you go around the bend and come down the road, then you have to cross over to the right side.
And it's blind, because it's over.
Well, so the crossing is further downhill past the curve. So this is closer to the river. So it's in a straight stretch. But based on our understanding of the DOH design plans, there is not a designated marked crosswalk at that location. So our recommendation would be to look into adding the pole-mounted speed display signs there and to add a raised crosswalk with the rectangular rapid flashing beacons and the high visibility markings. Again, knowing that it's downhill, we have a decent amount of traffic. There is good visibility, so it meets all of those checks to be feasible. That would be our only recommendation within the existing limits of the DOH study.
Driving by, it looks very narrow. Some of it's not your nice wide that you're recommending in the rest of the area, but there isn't that much space and there's.
Correct. My understanding is it's I want to say a 5 or 6 foot sidewalk at back of curb that's being installed by the DOH, yeah. So our recommendation builds off of that a little bit to, again, add that buffer to provide the comfort and safety for the users and a wider 8-foot facility so it can be used by bicyclists and pedestrians.
Great.
So we'll continue to share that information with the DOH, and we appreciate all of the hard work you all put into it.
Thanks for the opportunity to work with you all again.
All right, thanks, Colin, appreciate you.
Great report.
We don't need to accept it.
You need, yes, you do.
All right, so we'll need to accept the,
Move to accept the report.
thank you. It's moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right, thank you very much. We now have some good information to share with our friends at DOH and see what we're able to come up with in design. Excellent. Next on the agenda, we have the community garden final update. This has been a project, Jackie, what, a couple years?
Yeah, I think 2 to 3 years.
And I think it's pretty successful, so we're anxious to hear what you have to say about the project and its final report.
So this is a condensed version of what I emailed you guys in the agenda packet. The presentation in the agenda packet, I think, was close to 60 slides, so I did not want to make you guys listen to all of that. But the memo in those slides, that is the final report that will be sent to FHWA and DOH. So they'll get the full reporting, completely close out this project. And if you guys remember, last policy board meeting, there was a motion. I think there's about $100 left from the money DOH had given us for us to absorb it as administrative fees. So once I send that email, we'll post the final report on the website and continue to just support the gardens on social media, and the project will be closed. So I'm just giving you guys a brief update of where they are now. All 4 are doing fantastic. And as you guys remember, this is money from FHWA because there's one garden that's being displaced from the Greenback Road roundabout. So to start, we have the Freedom Fighters Community Garden. They actually started with 1 garden on Dorsey Lane that our funds went to, and they've actually expanded to 2 more. So this was a bonus one with even more gardens. They have 15 volunteers. They produce and maintain herbs, vegetables, flowers. They have produced about 30 pounds of produce. They're promoted through the Morgantown Mutual Aid Facebook pages and local seed and plant swaps. They are looking to include expanding the garden, offering individual beds, and hosting community gatherings. And And then on the next slide here are some pictures. You can see the original community garden here, and they've taken it upon themselves to expand to 2 more, which I thought was fantastic. And here's a picture of some of the produce that they have made. Moving on, we have Chris White's community garden. They have about 2 to 3 dozen volunteers. They're very active on Facebook. They've used WVU's iServe, word of mouth, local partnerships. In 2025, this was one of the first gardens that we actually, it's like word I'm thinking of, we're able to support. Because in 2025 we started, and I think there's some stuff going on, and around 2026, I think it was 2024, then 2025. So he's actually had some extra time to do more. So he installed a 1/4 acre and had a 10-foot deer fence to keep out the deer. In 2026, he's added rabbit and pest protection, wood chips, leaf compost. They've grown tons of vegetables. They've done workshops. They have a chicken coop under construction to provide eggs to volunteers. They've shared their produce with the community. I've seen it on my own personal Facebook page pop up of them getting food out, and they just plan to continue to expand, have more workshops, plant fruit trees, and explore beekeeping, which I thought was cool. Here are some pictures. You can see the volunteer work and then the mushrooms and some of the tomatoes they have produced. So they've been also very successful. Our third garden is in the through the Greenmont Neighborhood Association. They have 10 raised beds, and all 10 beds were filled. So that was something they were very proud of. A lot of the residents, I think this is located directly in the Greenmont neighborhood, so a lot of people in the neighborhood have access to it and are able to get the produce. Vegetables, herbs, flowers. It's encouraged pollinators, biodiversity. And in one of the exchanges I had with them, they had a lot of first-time gardeners, and they were very excited about having first-time gardeners that they were able to bring in, teach them about it, and maintain the community garden. And their future plans also include additional beds, continuing these efforts, more food, and having more of the community involved. Here are some of the pictures from their garden. There was a 4th one, but for some reason it did not upload correctly. But as you can see, their beds are full of produce and flowers and tomatoes, and they're also doing very well. Then finally, we have Scott's Run Settlement House, and this is at their Cheat Lake location. They use social media, their website, and their volunteer database to promote the garden and recruit volunteers. They've had tomatoes, squash, pumpkins, herbs, cucumbers, and zucchini. They have a food pantry through Scott's Run Settlement House, and they're able to add to this pantry with the vegetables grown through the community garden. They've been great about sharing that on Facebook and getting the food out into the community. They have 3 regular volunteers, but they have larger groups assisting with special projects. And in the future, they're looking to offer gardening and food preservation classes to build community skills. Here are some pictures from their garden beds. I think that's a watermelon. That might be a pumpkin.
I can tell you that is a pumpkin.
Okay.
Because I'm accidentally growing pumpkins.
So I do not know much about gardening, so we'll go pumpkin and then some tomatoes.
I just started growing pumpkins. I got 8 of them.
That will happen.
They're the best ones.
Yeah.
But that is the final update. I will be posting on our website the long update that I send to FHWA and DOH and the short one, so it'll be available for anyone to see it. But that wraps up the Community Garden Initiative. So does anyone have any questions?
Jackie, just remind everybody what the total value of the grant was.
It was just under $15,000. So
We got all
taking
that.
taking those funds and helping these gardens, it's I call that a very successful program.
Oh, yeah,
so.
Yeah.
there's been a lot of success. It's even better. We were hoping to get maybe 1 or 2 that did okay, and all 4 are doing great, and one of them even created 2 more. So
That's great.
I wonder how many MPOs are involved in gardening. So, very good. And you've been running this project from the start, so thank you. You did a nice job on that.
It's been a fun project, so.
Can I ask her a question?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, so have you seen these sites?
At the very beginning I did, I have not been to them now. They've all been great at sending pictures
Yeah,
and me
the
seeing
pictures
updates
are
on
great.
social media. I'd love to go see them. We've just been busy
Yes.
with the transition period, so I think it would be good for me to go visit them and
So if
See what's going
If we
on.
wrangled a van from somewhere, could we do a tour?
a field trip.
Pardon?
I said a field trip.
Could we do a field trip?
If we knew somebody had a bus that could take us.
The Mountain Line has new
They're
vans.
I'm sure we could figure something out.
We'll plan it out.
We got a police
Get
transport.
your pass and you'll be able to go anytime you want.
Because we have no more money to give them, but I'm still going to promote them in newsletters on our Facebook. So I think that'd be a great idea to actually go visit them and like, hey, the MPO and some of our policy board members.
And I don't know if I could wrangle a city person to do some kind of video while we were visiting, but it would be
I think that'd be great.
some
I
kind
can,
of possibility.
absolutely. Well, and it's something positive that I think
Yeah.
there wouldn't be much
Well-
uproar about, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll email you and Maria, and maybe we can get a bus and get some people together to,
or a van.
whatever's available.
Do we
Or
need to
police
get more
transport.
vans? Do we need to get more vans first? I don't want
Everybody
to,
up.
We'll see if we can put
Somebody
that,
else's
something together. Yeah, we'll work on that, and see if we can't put something
Just see-
together, and
just a
we'll
possibility.
definitely want to do it around harvest time.
well, yeah, I was going to say, it would need to be sometime in the next 2 months.
Yes.
Great, but no, great, thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie.
Are there any other questions?
Good work on that, and yeah, hopefully those garden efforts will continue and prosper and grow throughout the community. I think that'd be awesome. All right, any other business at hand that anybody has? All right,
Well, just the good news. Who said the lights are blinking now?
They are blinking.
Over on Chaplain Hill Road.
woo-hoo.
And we were told that by the end of August, they were going to be running, and it appears, and Brian, please thank everyone, they are on target, it looks like, to open those lights up, and that will be before football season, which would be fantastic.
And we also should thank the efforts on Van Boris Road and other places, even though I was talking about the width of the sidewalks, which is due to the topography, I believe, but it's amazing to see work in our area, and we
Yeah.
should be very thankful for it.
Great, yep, absolutely. All right, any other points? All right, fantastic. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
Fantastic, meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Before 1 hour.